I love it when I'm right, and there were some things I was right about, a couple things that I was wrong about, but I'll tell you this much. The Bucs were very fortunate to win game one in Atlanta.
Oh,
man.
yes, they were.
Oh, boy. And also, we live in Tampa Bay where the Buccaneers, were in the desert for years searching for a kicker, right? They drafted Roberto Aguayo. They brought in a million guys after that. And Chase McLaughlin was one of the top kickers in the league, has been for a while. He did not have a good day. Missed a 40-something yarder. Also, the extra point that would have given him a 4-point lead. Missed from 44 wide left. Not to be outdone, fortunately for the Bucs, Young Hoku could have tied this game, and he missed a 44-yarder wide right. So kicking went bad, but they did not play a great game. And in the first half, they were particularly just kind of pedestrian at best. I'll tell you what I observed, though. Like, the difference between the Falcons and where they are right now and where the Bucs are right now is that the Bucs are just a few years ahead in terms of their program. And what I mean by that is they have a quarterback they totally believe in. Listen, Michael Penix Jr. is going to be a really, really good quarterback in this league. I mean, he can see the field. He's got a great arm. He's a gamer, man. He'll do what it takes to win, put his body on the line, which was his problem in college. He had a lot of injuries he overcame. But he was impressive in that game, I thought. Having said all that, it's just that in the big moments, right, Baker Mayfield, I haven't seen many – in the few years he's been here, I've not seen many quarterbacks besides Brady that in a 2-minute situation where you need a score, especially if you're behind, that he operates more clutch than that guy. I mean, it's almost the more chaos there is, the better he plays, And some of that is dictated by coverage. They got their back to the quarterback, and if he's able to escape containment, he can run for first downs, and he certainly did that. In fact, he was their leading rusher in the game, which says more about their running game than what Baker did. But they're just, the Bucs had belief. They had belief they were going to win that game, and you only get that when you win, right? You only winning begets winning, and there's a confidence about this team. Now, they were far from perfect, but you always want to, learn from your mistakes, but still manage to win the game. It's a marathon. You're not going to be – week one is a liar. I've said that. I still believe that. And maybe the Bucs don't win again. Maybe all these mistakes, get, highlighted over these next 16 games. But I do think that because there's so many players that have won this division, that have been together, that even the young guys, and we'll talk about Emeka Egbuka, and boy, was everybody, including me, right about him. They just, when they needed a big play, when they needed to, Chase McLaughlin notwithstanding, when they needed to come back again and again, they did it. They did it because they believed they could do it.
No question about it. And it was, as you said, they had no business winning this game. Where they had less than 25 minutes of possession, didn't create any turnovers, although they had opportunities to. When you have the ball that little and you don't have turnovers, meaning short fields,
yeah,
you're not supposed to win that game.
No, of course not.
You don't in the NFL.
No.
And they found a way to do it. Yes, it came down to a missed field goal at the end, but Chase had missed one as well, as you said. The extra points were missed. But it's a veteran team, even though they're still a young team.
Yeah.
I mean, last year they were one of the youngest teams in football.
Yeah, they're kind of middle of the pack now.
Yeah,
but they're still predominantly young.
But they have a lot of veterans, a lot of seasoned Baker and Mike Evans and Levante David and Antoine Winfield Jr. and, go through the list.
The offensive line, which we'll talk about.
Mm-hmm. The offensive line. And that was a very interesting decision
on
what they did on the line today.
It was.
And I go back to, and we had this conversation previewing the game Friday. With Baker and Mike Evans, particularly those two, not playing at all in the preseason.
Yeah.
What kind of start would that offense get off to?
Slow.
Knowing you didn't have Tristan Wirfs as your left tackle. Knowing you don't have Chris Godwin. Knowing you didn't have Jalen
I think
McMillan.
that was a factor. I think there was some rust, game speed rust. Not the kind of rust. Like, you can go out there and rep it in practices against the Steelers and against the Titans, and that's good work. It's good work.
Mm-hmm.
But the quarterback's not getting hit, right? You can still step into every throw. The offensive line, if they make a mistake, knows that the quarterback's not going to get hit. And so for all the stuff they did, this looked like a team that hadn't played live speed football, which is there's preseason speed. They didn't get any of that, and then there's regular season speed, which is way accelerated. And they certainly weren't prepared for that when the game started. Baker got off to one of the slowest starts in any game I've ever seen. But they hung with it. They hung with it, and then their experience showed down the stretch. But we'll talk about the offensive line for a minute. So I go down on the field, which none of us are allowed on the field unless you're a TV person with that credential, and typically that's the case in almost every team in the league, except the Atlanta Falcons. God bless Arthur Blank. God bless Rich McKay. He allows the credentialed media, including reporters and writers, not just the TV media that has to do stand-up. So he allows the media to come down onto the field. Now, there's a lot of people down there, right? Like a lot of people. Arthur Blank has a lot of friends, and he invites them all. And so there's hundreds of people, and those sidelines are incredibly crowded. So I'm down there on the sideline before the game, and when the centers come out and snap, they usually have three guys that'll snap the ball, one to Baker. Well, now it's three because they have a practice squad quarterback. He wasn't out there because he didn't dress, but so you need two centers to snap the ball to Baker, and then Teddy Bridgewater. And I just happened to look up, and I thought I saw Barton snapping the ball to Baker. In fact, I even posted something that was up for a couple seconds or minutes that said, Graham Barton snaps to Baker Mayfield, Barton starting his second year. And then I got a text message right away. It said, check the number. And so I did. And it was Ben Bredesen. And I went, whoa, is Graham hurt? Is he sick? Right? And then I'm thinking something happened, right? No, they're playing him at left tackle. So about that time, so basically I had the Zapruder film. I was the guy. There's like a lady with an umbrella standing right in front of me. It was weird. But I basically didn't even know what I had. And I had in pregame warmup, the first time you could see it, Ben Bredesen snapped the ball to Baker Mayfield. Hello, McFly. See anything unusual about this? Well, what was unusual was that they decided, I guess about a week or two ago, that their best combination, and I think we've talked about this on this show. I know I've talked about it with other people, is that, and whether this is receivers, eligible, whatever, sometimes you just say, we're going to put our best five on the field. What's our best combination of five, right? 5 offensive linemen, 5 eligible receivers, and especially when you have injuries like this. So all training camp long, Charlie Heck, we like Charlie Heck, Charlie's going to be great. Heck, Charlie's going to be great. And the preseason game, who starts at left tackle all 3 preseason games? Charlie Heck, Charlie Heck, Charlie Heck, Charlie Heck. Who goes in the practices against the Titans in Pittsburgh playing left tackle? Charlie Heck, Charlie Heck, Charlie Heck. Except that if you just look at his play, it's not that impressive. And if you look at his resume, it's even less so. Okay. And I even said that I don't have the recording. I can't tell you who is telling Greg Allman this, but I said something about what if Graham Barton played tackle for 3 years at Duke? In fact, he had to switch to center. Like he only played center his freshman year at Duke. And when he got drafted by the NFL, they did so with the idea that they were going to move him from tackle to center because they had 2 tackles. They had Tristan Wirfs. They had Luke Gedeke, right? What they needed was a center. And he had played it as a freshman, and they thought he would be projected as an NFL center. But in reality, he was a tackle. He's athletic. He's got great feet. He's big, right? He can do some things in a running game, getting out in space. And so, lo and behold, they've been practicing this for a couple weeks now. They bump, Graham out to left tackle. They moved Ben Bredesen, who did play center some for the Giants when he was with them, moved him to center. And then Michael Jordan, not the Airness, but Michael Jordan, who was a guy that they signed at the start of training camp, they played at left guard. And he had played in Carolina with Baker a little bit. Now Jordan was cut. He did not make the final 53, and that was what was unusual. But they re-signed him to the practice squad, and then they elevated a couple players on Saturday, and he was one of them. And I'm thinking, okay, they elevated this guy because maybe he's kind of a guard tackle swing guy that he can, if he had to, you can get by with him. Maybe Benjamin Chukwuma is not quite ready yet to do that, because you got Charlie Heck, who is your swing tackle, and if you start him, you're going to need somebody else to do that job. But the whole time, the idea was to play Graham at left tackle and Bredesen at center, and then Michael Jordan at guard. And boy, I thought they were pretty good. I thought they protected well. I don't think Baker was sacked. I'd have to look that up, but it didn't seem like, the times he got out of pressure, he was able to run the ball a little bit. It was quite stunning to just see how athletic that Graham was and how those guys anchored it down. And man, that's a big story. And then after the game, Baker was like, I see you guys didn't even ask us about it. Well, we didn't ask you about it because when we're at practice, you don't line up with your offense. You're over there throwing pat and goes at best, and the rest of the team is doing special teams. Hell, when they ask us to leave, that's when some of the guys come out, the Vita Veas and the Mike Evanses and the Levante Davids. We don't even get to see those guys on the grass warm up. But they were sneaky about it. They deliberately wanted to hide that idea, that portion of their practice from us, from the media, because they didn't need Atlanta getting any advance notice. But it's
we had talked about it earlier in the preseason, because there was talk of, could you move Barton when you were trying to figure out, it didn't look like Charlie Heck was great.
Yeah.
We had that conversation, and that's
what I thought. I thought we did.
Is it worth exploring?
Yeah.
Moving Barton over, et cetera. But I didn't think they were going to do it for game one. I mean, there was no indication of that.
No, there wasn't. Not that we saw. And,
And just for clarification, Baker was sacked once today.
He was sacked once?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. They had 2 half sacks. So
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So it wasn't perfect, but it was pretty good. And, they didn't run the ball well. Obviously, Baker being their leading rusher, that's not what you're after. That Bucky got bottled up pretty good. Rashad didn't have many attempts.
So
they got work to do.
Well. Neither team ran the ball.
Neither team could run. Atlanta couldn't run at all, and they got Bijan Robinson, who's a beast. By the way,
he was fantastic out of the backfield
as a receiver. He led them. Yeah,
yeah. But running the ball, the Bucs run defense was fantastic.
Yeah, no, they couldn't move Vita Vea or any of those guys inside. Robinson ended up with 24 yards on 12 carries, just 2 yards a carry, which is stellar to hold that guy down like that.
No question.
And then, Algier, their other running back, had 24 yards on 10 carries. As a receiver, Robinson hurt them a little bit. He had 6 catches, I want to say,
100 yards.
100 yards even.
Yep.
Including
a 50-yard touchdown.
That was, one was on one play, and that was the third play of the game. He goes for 50. Now, on that play, Servassier Dennis, woof.
He had a rough day.
He had a very rough day, to the point that at one point in the second half, they benched him. They pulled him off the field. It was that play where he got caught in no man's land. It looked like he was going to blitz, and the ball went over his head. And that was the end of it. They pulled him off and put in Deion Jones. And
he's supposed to be the linebacker that's good in coverage, and he was not today.
No, he got killed.
Hadn't played much in basically a year.
Right.
So some of that maybe it's rust.
It's rust, perhaps.
Else,
right. Didn't play much in the preseason.
But that one was
Yeah, he had a rough day, and Bull says, well, he'll bounce back, but I wasn't happy with him, and one play they took him out, wanted him to gather himself. They put in Deion Jones. So you get benched in your opener, that's never a good sign. But Bijan was, just too much of an athlete at times in space, and I thought that he took some bad angles. You want to at least get an angle on the guy to where the sideline will help you and get him out of bounds. But he didn't do that, and that's what turned into the 50-yard touchdown. So, if the Bucs catch a few passes that Penix threw at them, they could have had 3 or 4 interceptions. They dropped a few.
McCollum dropped 2. Now, one, there was a penalty on the play. It wouldn't have counted anyway.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I thought Baker got away with a few bad throws
Yes,
too.
he did too. Yes, he did.
He was very fortunate. He had 3 touchdowns again and no interceptions, but he only threw for a very, very pedestrian
Mm-hmm.
167 yards.
Well, they didn't have the ball much.
No, not at all.
And I mean, the first drive they don't do anything, and then the next 2 drives they start deep in their territory.
Yeah, they were backed up.
So it's just like it got off to a really slow start. They didn't have the ball a lot,
Right.
and it looked like a first game on both
Very
sides.
much so.
It was not a well played game.
No, by either team.
But the Bucs found a way to get it done.
Mhm.
Their veteran leadership, the grit,
The moxie, all that. Yeah.
Levante David in the locker room afterwards. It was all 3 phases of the game: offense, defense, special teams.
Well, to that end, they got one of their touchdowns came after a really good return.
Mm-hmm. Cameron Johnson.
That Cameron Johnson had. Yeah.
Actually, I thought both sides. The punting was atrocious. I thought Riley Dixon was out kicking his coverage every time.
Well, he did. He averaged 51.3, and he had a long of 62.
But every time they caught the ball, there was not a Bucs defender anywhere near the
Yeah, he had 2 inside the 20.
Yeah, those were okay. But I mean, anything of distance, your gunners were nowhere near him.
Yeah,
the returner, and the Falcons punter was the same way, which Cameron Johnson got the 53-yard return or 58-yard or whatever it was.
He did flip the field position on that one kick though. That 62-yarder was impressive.
I thought the returner didn't do a very good job returning that one. He should have probably got more with that space.
Yeah.
I know that was a strength coming in of we don't have to worry about kicking, but if you're going to outkick your coverage every time, that sets up potential for big returns.
Right. Yeah, I mean it's about the net, not the gross, and he certainly can boom it, and that's good though. You want a guy that at least has that in his bag, right?
Absolutely.
Pull out that driver, and if you need to go deep, you can go deep, but also be able to kill it inside the 20, which he did twice.
Yes. No, he was good at that. And granted, it's possible the gunners aren't getting down there quick enough. They're getting tied up. They're getting whatever else.
Blocks.
I'm not going to say I watched that part of it.
Yeah.
But when a returner catches the ball and there's no one within 10 yards of them, that's a problem.
Right. Yeah, no. They brought some back, but special teams was not a strength of this of either team in this game.
Nope.
And it was funny because we were talking to Bowles after the game. It's like, what'd you think when you missed the extra point? He goes, I'm not going to stand up here and cuss on the podium, okay? He goes, I can't say what I said. He goes, but it wasn't good. He was just couldn't believe it, as most people couldn't believe it, and that enabled. I mean, Atlanta could have won the game with a touchdown, enabled them to try the field goal for the extra point, which they missed. But man, you could have put that game away, and once again they didn't. Now they lost a crazy game at Atlanta last year. You remember, Levante David with the interception inside the 25-yard line of Atlanta. I'm going downstairs. This game is over. I don't even know that you need a first down, but you're already in field goal range. And they had a penalty. They missed a face mask penalty on Bucs. Should have gotten benefit of that, and so on and so forth. And then they punted, and it was a touchback, I believe. And Kirk Cousins managed to get them down the field and kick a field goal. This time, a year ago, they got down the field and kicked a field goal to send it to overtime. They weren't able to do that, but then, of course, they go to Tampa and Atlanta beat them again. And Kirk Cousins wound up throwing 8 touchdown passes in 2 games against the Bucs. So they probably were happy not to see him, but man, Michael Penix is a really good player, and they're gonna win a lot of games. They didn't make the big plays at the big times, and you just never sensed any panic for the Bucs. Even in that 2-minute situation, like they got the ball back. There's a little over 2 minutes. You've got 2 timeouts, I believe, and they had the 2-minute warning, or 1 timeout and the 2-minute warning. So Baker didn't feel stressed as far as the clock goes. It was interesting. It was almost first game jittery, kind of lucky we won, but we think we got, we'd rather learn winning than losing. And, at any rate, we lost a screwy game like this up here last year, so it feels good. That was kind of the general reaction.
Look, at the
That
end of the day, they don't ask how many you won by or how you won.
no,
It's how
no one
many did
knows
you
the
win.
score, right? No one's going to remember the score or
And
any of that.
this is what a good veteran-led team does. I mean, they did not
Find
have
a
their
way.
best. They did not
Right.
have their best,
Yeah,
but they found a way to win.
absolutely, they did.
And a team that you're predicting to be one of the ones in the chase for the NFC Championship, that's what good teams do.
And it's not just that they won; it's who they beat. Right?
Mm-hmm.
They won a game in the division on the road. Okay, against a team that beat them 3 of the last 4 times. So, all those things added together make it feel like more than just a regular season win. In some respects.
No question.
So that part they'll take. They're very happy about, and move on to Houston, which, by the way, I kind of felt like. I mean, I still feel like Houston has a really, really good defense. It's going to be better than Atlanta's, which is not a great defense, and the Bucs only scored 23. But I was just kind of looking. Let's see, what was their score? They
lost 14-9.
That was it, 14-9. There it is. Okay, so they lose 14-9, and I really thought they're more explosive than that on offense. And the defense did about what I thought their defense would do. Their defense is really good. But it's a Monday night game. It's the early Monday night game. There's a couple of them. So from that standpoint, I don't know that really matters necessarily, but the Bucs got to go on the road. And when you go on the road, again, that's tough. That's why this game was so important, because they're going to turn it right around. They got an extra day of preparation, so that could be in their favor. But yeah, you kind of had to get this one. If you weren't going to get off to a really slow start, you kind of needed it, and they got it. So good on them. Like, I think suddenly now the Houston game seems very winnable to me for the Bucs if Houston's not going to score points, which is inexplicable a little bit. But
yeah, some of it may be the Rams. I didn't watch a lot of the game, but the Rams defense, which they're another team
they're good,
predicted to be competing for the NFC Championship.
That's another team that's in the mix. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. So where we were right, we've been talking about Emeka Egbuka for a while now, and really from the first practice and first time, look, he's impressive when you meet him, but a lot of guys are, right? Like, he says the right things. He was this kid that was very goal driven, wrote him down. He's self-proclaimed perfectionist, and no one knows in his family why he's like that. But he's almost anal retentive in that sense, is that, every little detail, he's got to be the best. He's got to be the best, got to be the best. And so when he arrived, after they drafted him, it felt like, I mean, he reminded you of Chris Godwin, and in fact, he's playing Chris's position. He's the closest thing to Chris Godwin since Chris Godwin. About the same size, same temperament, and just, all gas, no brakes. Like, this dude spends all his time studying film, going in his playbook, like he's a Boy Scout, and you're almost kind of got one eye sort of shut going, no one's this good. Oh, he is. He is. We watch him on the practice field. He'd make all these plays, and Baker seemed comfortable with him almost from the get-go. And a lot of that is because the way guys runs routes, to get separation, body control, presents himself to the quarterback. All of that was great. It had become elite. And, would tell anyone before this to buy him in fantasy football, if you will. He was a stud all during training camp, all during the preseason. He was an absolute stud, and he came out in this game, and he has the 2 really big plays, touchdown passes from Baker Mayfield. And at the end, Baker's like, "Yeah, we told you." Like, sort of, I've never seen anything like this guy as a rookie. I've never played with anybody like this, and he came up in big moments with big plays and touchdown, the game-winning touchdown to put him ahead, 2 touchdowns overall. Man, guys set a receiving record at Ohio State. He's got to be pretty good, but to come out and win the game and slay it and score 2 of the 3 touchdowns in your first game that your team is trailing in and really needs it, that's an impressive thing to see. And he's going to be really, really good. Can you imagine if they're fortunate enough to keep Mike healthy? until Chris comes back, and then look way down the road a while and see if Jalen McMillan is back 8, 9, 10 games into the year. Boy, oh boy. If you could put those 4 guys out there at once, it'd be very difficult to cover. Really hard to cover them all.
It'd be very difficult to get all 4 of them out there at once because you generally don't play 4 receivers. But
no, but I tell you what, going back to the what are my best 5?
Absolutely.
I'd get them out there a lot.
Yeah,
Maybe not every play.
Cade Otton may want to get back sooner than later, so he doesn't get left behind.
I know. Well, and Baker, I don't know who turned the wrong way, but Baker had him for a shot play too, where he just he's wide open.
Yeah.
And he missed it. Baker missed throws. He said so. He said, "Look, he goes, I wasn't good in the beginning of the game. I just was a little off. Probably tried to go for too much. And it showed. And he just didn't play well. And overall, to throw for less than 200 yards but still win the game, it's really a testament to the defense. That one drive. Okay, so the drive that puts Atlanta ahead is 91 yards. There's 2 penalties. There's 3 instant replay reviews that all go Atlanta's way, right? And there's 8 plays from the 4-yard line in. 8, and they finally score the go-ahead touchdown. But that defense hung in there and fought and just kept going back and forth and, damn near stood them up when they had first and goal inside the 4-yard line. But, they had to come back, and Baker brought him back, got him in the end zone. The rest, as they say, is history. So, good debut. Pretty good trip to Atlanta. Got back on Southwest, thank God. I think my partner Greg Allman is still stuck there on Frontier.
Ooh.
And look, I'm not gonna do an ad for any airlines soon, but man, there are certain airlines, and that would be one of them, that I don't fly often. And there's a reason I don't. Because sometimes when the one plane breaks down, it takes them a long time to get you where you want to go after that. But hopefully Greg will have safe travels. And
how did you think Haasan Reddick looked?
Look, he got a sack. Okay, I know it probably was the only memorable play. I think he had a pressure as well, or a quarterback hit. So I didn't see him getting run over. I thought the Bucs' run defense was good, which tells me that he was holding the edge. And I think he can. I know he can play better, but for his first time out, if he did this every week, he'd be a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. So. Yeah, rack up the sacks, man. Rack them up. Get one a week, whatever. That's fine. I thought he gave them something.
I agree. I didn't. I mean, unfortunately, it was the only sack of the day for the Bucs.
It was.
And you're looking to get more pressure, more sacks this year.
Yeah. Who was dominant was Vita Vea.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he was.
Man, he's hard to move, man. When he wants to play, if he gets his hands on you, oh my God.
Outside the roughing the passer penalty he had.
Well, yeah. Although
to have 2 in one drive is not good.
I know. You're right.
And that's kind of first game stuff. There was a lot of those around the NFL today.
It's inexcusable, but by the same token, have you ever tried to stop a truck on a dime? It's not easy, man. Yeah. He gets ahead of steam. It's not like there's no brakes. It's like, sorry.
I'm just saying those things are killers. And
oh yeah, they are. Sure they are.
But it happens so fast anymore.
Yeah,
the league is just so fast.
It's a quick game. Even the big guys can move. They can really move, and they're really big. So successful trip for Todd Bowles and his merry band of Buccaneers who now head to Houston, and I'll be there, and that'll be fun. See if they can go 2-0. 2-0 coming home playing against the Jets. Which, by the way, how about your boy Aaron Rodgers suddenly stepping up, saying, "Not so fast, my friend. I'm not dead yet."
The Jets were controlling most of that game.
They sure were.
And then they fumbled the kickoff after Pittsburgh got within 2?
God, that was cataclysmic, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And did you see the Sunday night game? That was nuts.
Oh, nuts. So I'm driving home. My wife's telling me the score. I should have just put it on radio, but for whatever reason, it was more fun this way. And when I left the plane, I want to say the Bills were down at least 2 touchdowns. It didn't look good. They were into the fourth quarter, and I'm like, yeah, they're not going to win this. And I'll be damned. Like, it took a turnover. King Henry was running nuts, but again, in those moments, like Josh Allen came through.
Well, and King Henry fumbled.
King Henry fumbling was the key. That was they don't get enough possessions without the fumble.
Mm-hmm.
They needed that fumble. They needed everything they got, and then some. So that was a crazy game. It tells me Buffalo does not have an elite Super Bowl type defense. They'll score points with anybody, so they have to develop that side of the ball. I mean, I really think that we're going to be talking about the Bucs late into January, December. I think Buffalo's going to be there. I think Baltimore's going to stick around too. They got to be sick, by the way.
Baltimore probably has the best roster, top to bottom.
Yeah, they do, and they got to be sick, having lost that game the way they did. It's just gut wrenching. Their defense is better than that.
Yep.
Just finish the deal. Finish the deal, and this is what they've had trouble doing. In the meantime, hey guys, speaking of the NFL, you want to get on down to Breitling Boutique at International Plaza Mall. That's where you're going to find the NFL team watches, all 32 teams that are demonstrated in a commemorative watch of that team with the colored, the logo inside, as well as the face of the watch. The Chronomat watches for men. They also have beautiful watches for women, for your wife, for your girlfriend. These are sports watches. They're very durable, and they look terrific, and she can choose from an array of different colored wristbands. It is Breitling Boutique. Go over there, check it out. Check out the customer service. They're in the middle of the mall, second floor, and I was there about a week or so ago, and they did have a couple of Chronomat watches of the NFL collection. These things are really stunning when they put them. They got them behind glass, and they're just had the Bucs one. I think Miami may have been one. So if you're an NFL fan and you need a good timepiece, get on down to Breitling Boutique at International Plaza. And when you go, please let them know that you heard about it on Sports Day Tampa Bay. Well, dare I say, break up the Bulls. How about your USF football team that is now 2-0 with wins over ranked opponents? They are now ranked themselves. I think I saw number 18. Is that where they're coming in?
18. It's the first time they've been ranked since 2018.
Wow.
It's the first time they've been ranked that high since they were ranked 16th in the middle of the 2017 season.
That's just nuts, right?
Just think about it. If they beat Miami this week, they'll probably be top 10. They should be top 10 if they do.
Oh, I think so. I mean, that's a brutal schedule and a gauntlet to go and, have to host Boise, which was very, very good, and then go on the road to Florida. By the way, this has got to be curtains for Billy Napier. I'm just trying to think, how does he save his job, short of just winning games that absolutely nobody thinks he has any business winning? And there's about 4 of them in a row here coming up.
I sent you a text and just kind of joked. I said, Florida should hire Alex Golesh before he leaves town.
Well, listen, Alex is going to get plenty of offers, including from the SEC, I'm pretty sure.
But I remember last year we said, this has to be it for Billy Napier.
I know. And
they turned it around.
But, I mean, have you seen that schedule?
Well, but they had a similar schedule last year. It wasn't,
they did.
I don't know, it may not maybe quite as many ranked teams, but it was up there.
Yeah.
They had that gauntlet of 5 straight weeks of ranked teams late in the season. Yeah. And that's where they started to turn it around and actually get some wins. Yeah. So I hesitate to say it's curtains for him because we've seen this before with him. But man, that's a bad loss for Florida.
No, it is. It's really bad. And there were some options that, Napier could have done, all of which he chose not to do. It was just, how about you let 50-something seconds run off the clock when they're in field goal range? Now, you don't take for granted he's going to make the field goal, okay? And I suppose if you sped him up enough that there might be even some pressure, I don't know what that would be, getting the field goal team on, if there was a non-timeout situation. I'm not sure why he didn't go to it. And then failing going to it, and now they're inside, essentially it's an extra point. They're at the 3-yard line or whatever. Why didn't you just lay down and let the other team score? Because that would have been your only chance, is to get the ball back with some time to get down the field and score a touchdown. But amazing comeback by USF. Amazing win by them. Incredible win for Alex Golesh, who now suddenly is going to be the hot name on every college, president's list. So I don't know that he'll be here for very long. But
it was pretty incredible. I was working the Rays game that night.
Were you?
So
Cool.
at Steinbrenner.
Oh, McClanahan had a reaction, right?
Well, McClanahan did, but so I've got it on an iPad there as I'm working, paying attention on the side. And as that kick's going through, the stands start erupting.
I love it.
Because there's people in the stands on their phones either watching it or got alerts. And, I mean, for a good 30 to 45 seconds, the crowd was cheering. There's nothing going on in the baseball game. But the crowd's all cheering. Because they all got the news, either watching it or got the alerts, or then telling everybody that USF beat Florida. And it was pretty cool to hear. I mean, Mark Topkin tweeted about it, but it was pretty cool. Just organically, the crowd starts erupting, and if you didn't realize that game was ending, then you might be like, "What's going on?"
I can remember one Bucs game, sort of like that, where the Rays, or the then Devil Rays. No, they were the Rays. The Rays clinched the playoff. Clinched. They won the AL East basically. Ground ball to, Aki Uemura, and he steps on second and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to go to World Series. So the game had ended. It was a night game, and I'm on deadline at night. I'm grumpy. And they open the locker room, which is 10 minutes after they go in, and like nobody wants to talk. They're all standing around. This is at the old locker room, not the one they rebuilt, but they're all standing around, watching the game, which I don't blame them. They were trying to see if the Rays were going to clinch, the American League Championship and go to the World Series. And so I stood there knowing I had to write a story of them beating, I think, like Seattle or something, but watch, David Price get the last out and all that. So it happens. It's kind of cool when it does, when you have teams having success in this area.
Yeah, it was just a cool moment for the crowd. But, man, Alex Golesh, the job he's done, and, Byron Brown, just think what last year they went 7-6, did well. Bryce Archie did a wonderful job filling in. But if they would have had Byron Brown healthy all last year, he's a really, and then the defense this year, the transfers they've brought in, that defense can hit.
They got some dudes, yeah. Did you see? He got a shout out from Nick Saban about it.
Yes, he did, as they should. Nick Saban played this team 2 years ago in Tuscaloosa, or it was here in Tampa. I'm sorry, in Tampa, and USF almost won. Granted, he didn't play Milroe that day, put his backups in, but still, USF took it down to the wire with them. It was what, a 3-3 game late or something?
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember. It was tight going to the fourth quarter, and it was still like a touchdown game going to 5 minutes left in the game. So Saban knows. That team, and that team didn't have the dudes that this team does. That was Golesh's first year.
Well, he's come a long way. I don't know how long he'll be for this city or what's going to go on there.
Well, but as we always say, don't worry about that now. Enjoy this.
Yeah, enjoy it. Yeah.
You're 2-0. You beat 2 ranked teams. You're going to go play at Miami this week. Right now, if the college football playoff started today, South Florida's in. They're the team. They're the non-Power 4 team to make the tournament at this point.
That's amazing.
Enjoy it. Don't worry about whatever next year happens. If Alex Golesh takes you to the playoff, and who knows what happens when you get there, if he leaves next year, thank you. I don't want him to leave, but he did what you're supposed to do. Resurrected a program that won 1 game against FBS schools in 3 years. 1. Maybe 3 FCS schools, but 1. To do what this is doing now. This is, and I wasn't here for this. I was watching from afar, but it's not quite 2000, was it 7 or 5, whatever year it was, that they got to number 2 with Matt Grothe and all that, a quarterback. But that's the type of excitement this is. You just beat 2 ranked teams, including Florida. That's Alex Golesh is, this program has been, Jeff Scott, it was, like you said, 1 win in 3 years. And now 3 years later, you've won 2 bowl games, and now you start the season 2-0, and you got a chance to go beat another ranked team this week.
It's crazy.
He does that. He does that. Like I said, they're top 10.
I know. Imagine. Wow. Just a lot. Lot to digest right there, for sure. And finally, the Tampa Bay Rays had hooked me again. I was convinced that this team was on their way like a rocket ship. They'd come back and, worked a little bit harder on some stories and things. But I don't know.
Well, when you lose 3 in a row and only score 4 runs in those 3 games.
Is that a problem?
It is. Now, granted, they didn't give up a lot of runs because Cleveland didn't score many either, but they scored more.
And that's a team you have to pass, right?
Well, you were ahead of them. Now they're back ahead of you. So now the Rays are 4 games back of the wild card from Seattle.
Yeah.
But you got to jump over Cleveland, Kansas City, Texas. Now, the other thing is Cleveland won 5 out of 7. So if you tie Cleveland at the end of the year, they get the tiebreaker. There's no more game 163 in baseball.
Oh, okay.
There's tiebreakers for it because the postseason expanded. They started right away, basically. So there's no more game 163. So if you tie Cleveland, you've lost. So you're a game and a half behind them, but you're 2 games back because you got to be ahead of them.
I just feel like they lost that momentum. They won 7 in a row, and you don't expect them to continue on that pace. But then to get to lose 3 straight, man, that's just a death knell right there.
Yeah, and I thought Saturday's game. I'm not usually one to. I might disagree with Kevin Cash at times.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he made so many mistakes in that game.
Really?
I don't understand why you're trying to steal home with Jake Mangum.
Right.
Unless, so here's the thing: you pinch hit Carson Williams for Tristan Gray, who was 2 for 2 in the game, or had 2 hits, a single and a double, because you're playing the lefty-righty matchup.
Okay.
So you're going to put Carson Williams in. Now he looked bad the first 2 pitches and was down 0-2. So, but you put Carson Williams in because you want to get him experience. You want him to experience things, but then you steal home and get thrown out. Took the bat out of his hands. Now, maybe you don't think he's going to get a hit there.
First of all, who steals home, really, these days?
Yeah, well, they tried. Didn't work.
I know. It's not usually something that you get from the bench.
Yep. He said Mangum didn't get a big enough lead. Kevin Cash said
yeah, clearly.
So, then there's some base running issues. But in the 9th inning, it's a tie game. You got runners on 2nd and 3rd, and Stephen Kwan's at the plate. Stephen Kwan, who's a great contact hitter, one of the best in baseball. Probably the most dangerous hitter in their lineup. Jose Ramirez and him are the 2 that you go, ooh, I don't want to face them.
So walk them. You got first base open.
They didn't. And Kwan hits it to the shortstop, who was shaded over to second, and it's an infield single.
Wow.
Guardians take the lead 3-2, and they win the game.
Wow.
And it wasn't Ramirez wasn't next. It was Angel Martinez was up next, who strikes out over 30% of the time.
You want a strikeout guy in that situation at the plate, yeah.
And he's one who strikes out over 30% of the time.
Yeah, that would much better
absolutely
move.
do not understand. Like I said, I can disagree with decisions, but this one was just puzzling.
Goes against the grain, yeah.
Like, even if I disagree, I usually can understand the logic. I don't understand the logic of what the Rays did Saturday night.
Right. Ooh, that's tough, man.
Yeah. And so Fairbanks gave up the lead there. Wasn't a blown save, it was tie game. So
right.
Yeah,
he didn't have much of a stellar week, to be honest with you.
No, he is struggling right now. I think he's given up something like 7 home runs in his last 18 innings or something like that.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not in a good place right now.
Well, I mean, I guess you can get hot as they did, a week or so ago when they won 7 in a row, but you'd almost have to repeat that again down the stretch to kind of climb back into it.
Well, they're on the road now, and they're at the White Sox to start. So that's a team you can get hot against.
You can, and then you got to go see the Cubs. So they got like pretty much a week in Chicago, which I'm jealous because I'd love to be there. The weather's great. The weather was, just stepping off the plane or coming out of the dome in Atlanta. I was like, what is this non-humidity I feel right now? Like it wasn't incredibly it wasn't cold, but like when I came out of the dome, it's probably in the 60s. And I thought, we wouldn't see something like this dry air mass, whatever it is, probably for another, I don't know, mid-December. Like, it's just crazy that, they're having such nice weather up there, but not here. nonetheless, we are back. We had to get on a plane. My good colleague, Greg Allman, is still trying to make his way back on Frontier. I got back on Southwest. It's a rush to the airport, so you don't have to spend the next day and a half there. But everything went well as far as I went. Everything checked out, was on time. At one point, they said my flight was going to be delayed to 11:30, and I'm like, oh, man. But at least I won't have to rush to the airport. But then it was put back quickly at 9:30, and then we went out without a hitch. So happy to be home. Todd Bowles going to talk today at noon, and we'll get his feelings on how the Bucs did when he gets a chance to watch the film, who's hurt, who's not, who's trending coming back, who's not, all of those good things. You can check out the Tampa Bay Times on tampabay.com for that. And where are the Rays headed next? Did you say?
They're at the White Sox.
They're at the White Sox. We just said that, yeah. So
they're off tonight. They play tomorrow.
In Chicago for a week, White Sox, Cubs. They pretty much need to get on another streak and go streaking again. But we'll have all of that and everything else in the Tampa Bay Times. As always, go see our friends at Breitling Boutique International Plaza Mall. That's where you're going to find the beautiful Chronomat watches, 32 team watches in the NFL available as well. While supplies last, it's Breitling Boutique. Thanks for listening, everybody. For Steve Versnick, I am Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times. Have a great day.